Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to give a few introductory remarks while we admit everyone in from the waiting room. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's Miami-Dade Judicial Candidate Forum. Welcome to the judges, the judicial candidates, to everyone here on Zoom, and to those who have decided to watch on our YouTube channel. This forum is being hosted by, bear with me, it's a lot, the People's Progressive Caucus of Miami-Dade, the Miami-Dade Young Dems, the Miami-Dade Democratic Labor Caucus, the Flamingo Dems, the Blue Wave Coalition, the Coral Gables Dems, the Northeast Dade Dems, the Miami Gardens Democratic Club, the Dedicated Dems of Florida City Homestead, the Kendall Dems, Our Rev 305, Our Revolution Puerto Rico, Our Revolution Florida, the Labor Community Alliance of South Florida, and the South Dade Democratic Black Caucus, Ron Brown chapter. So thank you so much to all of the clubs and caucuses who relentlessly promoted this forum and for such an amazing turnout tonight, as I see people are still streaming in. I'm Kira Willig. I'm a practicing attorney and adjunct law professor, and I'm a board member of the People's Progressive Caucus. Our chair is at the school board meeting tonight, and so I and the vice chair, Del Travis Williams, are taking over moderating duties. Don't worry, I found out in time to call my Jewish mother, who is frantically figuring out a way to log on so that she can watch. So everyone, all is good. Judicial races are nonpartisan, and so they will appear on every ballot, regardless of your party affiliation. There are 7 contested races for Miami-Dade Circuit Court and Miami-Dade County Court. Each of those 7 races has one incumbent judge who is being challenged by one opponent. So you as the voters will get to select one candidate in each and every one of the 7 judicial races. You can vote by mail. You have from now, it already started, but you have from now until August 13th to request your vote by mail ballot. Early voting is from August 8th through the 21st at any early voting site. Election day is August 23rd at your assigned precinct. Miami-Dade election sent everyone a new voter card, so check your card or check online for your election day precinct location, as it may have changed. I know mine did. So we invited all 14 judicial candidates running in the 7 contested races to speak tonight. 12 accepted and should be here or should be coming in from the waiting room. Tonight, what we'll do is hear from each candidate by their group number, which is indicated on your ballot. So your ballot is going to show Circuit Court, a group number, and 2 names, or County Court, a group number, and 2 names. Each candidate will have up to 5 minutes to speak without interruption. Candidates are not required to use all 5 minutes. The goal is simply to give you sufficient time and a visible running timer that Nicola is going to run so that we don't have to interrupt any of the candidates to have you stop speaking. You'll see the timer, you have plenty of time, so you should be able to say everything that you want to say. I know you guys have done a lot of judicial forums and definitely have your pitches prepared. After both candidates in that group have, we will have a 4-minute Q&A for that group. As I'm friendly with a few of the candidates or their spouses, I'm not going to moderate the Q&A, but Del Travis Williams, who's the vice chair of our caucus, will moderate the Q&A. But the questions are not going to come from Del Travis, they're going to come from you. So hopefully it won't be like Judicial Forum gone wild, but you can either put questions in the chat and Del Travis can read your questions from the chat, or you can raise your hand and Del Travis can call on you. Nicola will then unmute you to ask your question. I don't think we'll have time at the end before 8 p.m., but if we do, we can always take additional questions for the candidates that are more general, but I'm sure all of them will tell you how to reach them in the event you have questions, or if you wish to donate to their campaigns, because elections cost money, or if you want to volunteer for their campaigns. So let's begin. We will first hear from the candidates for Miami-Dade Circuit Court, those 4 races, and then we're going to follow it with the candidates for Miami-Dade County Court. We're going to start with group 3, which is Judge Lodi Jean. Her opponent, Teresa Severa, is not here. Her campaign respectfully declined our invitation. Do we see Judge Jean? Sorry, Sorry, yes? Okay, so Judge Jean, thank you for being here. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you for putting this on. I can imagine what a behemoth of a task it was to organize. My name is Lodi Jean in French Creole. It's Lodi Jean. It's a unique name. So I was born and raised in Haiti. I became the first Haitian American woman to serve as a judge in Miami-Dade County. I was appointed to the bench in 2018, and then I was elevated. I was appointed to the bench in 2018 to county court, and then I was elevated to the circuit court in April of 2020. Prior to that, I was a lawyer for 14 years. I served as an assistant state attorney for 8 years. And while I did that, I was a supervising lawyer in my division, which meant I was responsible for supervising the lawyers that served alongside me in my division. I was also responsible for prosecuting the homicide cases that were filed in our division. I was also responsible for preparing responses for the courts for what we call post-conviction motions. It's when a case is closed and someone wants to undo the judgment and sentence. And so I was responsible for taking care of that. In 2012, I went to private practice and I opened up my own law firm. It was an immigration law firm, primarily immigration defense. I also did some criminal defense. It was successful, and so I pivoted to primarily immigration defense. And after that time, after 2012, I became very involved with voluntary bars. I am a past president of the Haitian Lawyers Association, and we partnered up a lot with other bar organizations with a variety of different clinics and forums and events, such as Florida Association of Women Lawyers, Cuban American Bar Association. There's either 36 or 39 voluntary bar organizations in Miami-Dade County, and we worked and partnered up with some that were organic to us and some that were non-traditional. I think we even had a meet and greet with Save Dade once for a Christmas event that we put on. So I can tell you that during law school, I was fortunate enough to have many internships. One internship was at the 3rd District Court of Appeal in 2003 under a judge named Melvia Green. And she became a mentor to me. She's now retired. Melvia Green is quite the trailblazer in our community. In 1989, Judge Green became the first Black woman to serve on the circuit court. She wasn't the first Black woman on the court, but she was the first Black woman on the circuit court and the first Black woman on the 3rd District Court of Appeal. And because of the mentorship that I received from her and many others, I try to give back. So every semester, as a judge, I accept a handful of interns. I am one of 2 liaison judges that is responsible for the internship program that we have between the Miami-Dade Public Schools and the court. So that's one way that I continue to stay involved in the community. And I can tell you that when I was in county courts, the types of cases that I presided over were eviction cases, debt collection cases, personal injury protection cases, what we call PIP, where there's a car accident. I also presided over first party property cases where someone's may sue their insurance and homeowners policy, for example, if they don't cover roof damage. I also served on a task force because when I was a judge in 2020, that's when the pandemic started in March of 2020. So I, along with a bunch of other judges, served on a task force. We set up recommendations to the Florida Supreme Court. And part of our recommendations is that we have Zoom court. And I believe it's here to stay. So that's convenient for many, many individuals, whether you're a lawyer or whether you are just a regular litigant coming to court. I serve you now in the circuit court in the criminal division. I've been there almost 2 years. We are fairly trial active because we're trying to clear up the backlog from the courts. I can tell you that I'm dedicated to serving you all. As an immigrant, and part of the reason that I like to tell folks that I'm from Haiti is it's always in the forefront of my mind that what I don't have back in Haiti, we at least have it here. And while it's not a perfect system, it is a system that I can contribute to, I can participate in, and I can help improve upon. So that's always in the forefront of my mind as I serve you as a judge. My ballot number is 91. And I look forward to whatever questions you all may have for me. And again, thank you all for the invitation to participate.
Thank you, Judge Jean. I want to remind everybody that Judge Jean is group 3, that her opponent is Teresa Cervera, who is not with us tonight. Now, before we start the first Q&A, and please put your questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand. Probably best to type it in the chat, although Del Travis will do his best to find you if you have a question. I just want to remind you a couple rules about the Q&A for judges. These folks are not politicians, even though they are forced to run for judge. They are actually bound by a code of ethics that prohibits them from telling you a lot of information, which would include their political party affiliation, their political leanings. They cannot take a position on a political issue. They cannot tell you how they would rule on a particular case. So please be mindful of that so that our Q&A is not candidates telling you, listen, I'm ethically prohibited from answering what's probably an excellent question. So with that caveat, we will now have our Q&A.
Do you want me to take the one from Mr. Buto, who's he put a question in the chat? I know he's participated in some of the other forums that I've been in.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Buto. So your question is, what is the temperament in the judicial sense? And please provide an example of how you applied it in a recent ruling. So I can tell you that judges must be diligent and also very, very patient. That word patient is not in the judicial canons. But as you can imagine, it's an adversarial system. So at the end of a judge's ruling, one side will probably feel as if they've lost. And I serve in the criminal division. I have to make rulings on a daily basis on bond, whether or not I'm going to reduce someone's bond or grant a bond, something to that effect. Essentially, if I'm going to release someone out of custody. And some of the more challenging scenarios that I deal with is family members. I have family members all the time that come to me asking me to release their loved one on bond. Sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. And sometimes I have to exercise my discretion one way or the other. What I can tell you is I always give the family members an opportunity to be heard, because regardless of my ruling, I know that if they believe that they've been heard, that the judge has been patient, and that I've taken the law and applied it to the facts, that they more often than not will respect and appreciate my thought process in coming to the conclusion. So that's the best way that I could answer your question, Mr. Buto.
And I believe there's another question for you in the chat, Judge.
There's another question from Mr. Gary Held.
Yes. So this is for every sitting judge. So it's about our rate of reversal or affirmance on appeal, and what lessons have you generally learned from the appellate review of your cases. So I can tell you that I actually looked this up the other day. Today I actually got an affirmance. It's what they call PCA, per curiam affirmed, which is where the appellate court affirms you without a written decision. So that came from a post-conviction ruling. So that was one that I received today, and I received 2 yesterday. I can tell you that the count, I'm going to undercount it just to be safe. It's 35. I've been appealed 35 times. Roughly 24 of those have actually been meritorious. What does that mean? That it wasn't because the appellate court released jurisdiction for me to enter a technical order. So it's actually been either an order that I've submitted or a trial that I've conducted. I can tell you that I've been affirmed. I'm sorry, 32 of those have been substantive. 32 out of 34 have been substantive. Of those 34, I've been affirmed 24 times and I've been reversed 4 times. All of those information is found on the 3rd District Court of Appeal. All you have to do is enter the information. And I can tell you that the lessons that I've learned are that that you can only do the best with the information that you have. On one of those reversals, it was actually a hot button topic about attorney fees. And come to find out that a lot of lawyers were waiting for the 3rd to actually rule on this new area of law. And I actually created case law. So not great to have your name on a reversal, but great to have an area of the law fully explained that many, many folks were waiting to see what the appellate courts were going to do. You want me to take the next question, Ms. Willig?
The next question from Frederick Gatson.
I think it's from Ms. Patterson.
Why do you have opposition?
Okay.
It's from
So-
Fred. I'm sorry, I'm adding questions from YouTube.
Oh, all right. So Ms. Patterson, I don't know. So I can tell you this is about the 16th forum or so that I've participated in. I've never turned down one to come and actually either answer questions from you all, and also to have my opponent answer questions. She appeared in one. And it just so happened to be the one that her law partner, her husband's law partner, was putting on. So I can tell you that I've gotten wide range of supports from community organizations. Both sets of lawyers in my courtroom support me, the public defenders and the state attorneys. They volunteered for my campaign. Both sides support me on the civil end, plaintiffs and defense firms. They've each either offered support, help, or offered the committee to put on fundraisers. So I can just tell you that this is the people's seat. It is not my seat. I serve at the pleasure of the community. And when I did apply to be a judge, I did know that.
Time is out, Judge.
I'm sorry.
You can finish your sentence, of course.
Oh, that I did know that elections were a possibility, and I gladly welcome the election process. I've learned a lot about myself and about the community as I've zigzagged the last couple months campaigning.
Thank you so much, Judge Jean. So everyone, that is Judge Jean. It will be on your ballot as Miami-Dade Circuit Court Group 3, Judge Lodi Jean versus Teresa Cervera. Thank you, Judge Jean. The judges are welcome to stay, although we are aware that most of you are double and triple booked these days. And so no one should hold it against any of the candidates if they have to absent themselves after they speak. So now we're going to hear from the two candidates in Group 20, which is Judge Robert Watson, who is challenged by Attorney Brenda Guerrero. Judge Watson, you have the floor.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kira, and thank you, everyone, for attending and the sponsors of the event. So I am Judge Robert Watson. I'm currently a circuit court judge. I've had the privilege and the honor to serve a total of 3.5 years as a judge here in Miami-Dade County. The first year I served in county court, the civil division in Coral Gables, where I presided over a wide range of civil cases, including small claims court. I presided over a total of 18 trials in county court, both bench trials and jury trials. And then I had the privilege to be elevated to the circuit court, where I've served for the past 2.5 years, since early 2020. I've served in the criminal division that entire time. I currently preside over 700 felony cases. So as you all know, we shut down for a time. We had no jury trials, but since we've been open to jury trials, I've presided over several jury trials in criminal court. In my prior life here in Miami, and my entire legal career has been here in Miami, I was an attorney at Holland & Knight, where I practiced commercial litigation in both state and federal court. And then I had the privilege to serve our community as an assistant United States attorney, otherwise known as a federal prosecutor, under Willie Ferrer at the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Miami, where I prosecuted also a wide range of cases, including child exploitation cases, healthcare fraud, international narcotics trafficking, and money laundering cases, and where I really started to develop an interest in possibly serving as a judge, because I was in court almost every day, appearing before a wide range of our federal judges, and had almost 20 jury trials in federal court. Prior to coming to Miami, I grew up in Southern California, went to Georgetown for college, and spent time in South America as a Fulbright scholar. I then went back to inner city Los Angeles, where I taught elementary school as a bilingual teacher in a Latino immigrant neighborhood before going to Stanford for law school. And I was drawn to Miami because of the time I had spent in Latin America and the Latin American influence, the culture, the people here in Miami. So as I said, I've served my entire legal career here in Miami. Outside of work, I've been involved in the community in various organizations, including the United Way and AMI Kids, which is an organization that helps provide opportunities to to young men and women who may come from more challenged backgrounds, and to provide training, education, mentoring, to set them on the right path. So we don't end up seeing them in criminal court, for example. I've also been involved in several bar organizations, including the Gay and Lesbian Lawyers Association and the Federal Bar Association, Cuban American Bar Association. And I've also been a mentor to young lawyers, to law students, and have volunteered for different events at all of our local law schools. So basically, why I'm running is because I love this job. I find it very rewarding. I love the law. I love providing justice and providing everyone fair trial, fair hearing, and their day in court. And the 3.5 years of judicial experience that I have is, I think, one of the most important reasons that people should vote for me. And I humbly ask for your support to continue serving. I'm very proud to have a wide range of endorsements from Miami-Dade, the Miami Herald, all 3 of the police organizations who have endorsed, one of the firefighters organizations, the teachers union, the nurses, doctors, and healthcare professionals, Latin Builders Association, and others. And I think all of those organizations that represent broad range of interests here in our community have endorsed me because they realize no matter what interest they may have, any one of their members could end up in court, and they want to have an experienced judge who's proven to be fair, to be competent, to be presiding over their cases. So I ask that you join with all of those organizations in our community and vote for me. I'm number 93 on your ballot, and you can find out even more about me at my campaign website, which is robertwatsonforjudge.com, Robert Watson, the number 4, judge.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Judge Watson. Now we will hear from Attorney Guerrero. You have the floor, Brenda. Brenda, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
No
Good
worries.
evening. Thank you for hosting this program, this forum, so that we can all participate and you get to know us a little bit better. My name is Brenda Guerrero, and I appear as number 92 on the ballot. I am an attorney. I practice family law. I have a family law firm. I am a solo practitioner. I've had my law firm close to 5 years. Before that, I worked as an assistant state attorney and the child support division in Miami-Dade County. And my first job, I worked for legal aid as a staff attorney in the civil division. In my job now as a family law practitioner, I represent everyday people, hardworking people, resolving their family law issues. I handle everything from divorces, custody, domestic violence, child support, alimony, name changes, things, premarital agreements. Those are the issues that I handle in my law firm. As an assistant state attorney, even now, my law firm is very busy. I've been able to handle approximately 1,500 bench trials since I started working as an attorney in Florida close to 17 years ago. And I also, when I first started, when I was in law school, I interned for Legal Aid Society in the family division and the domestic violence division. That's when I really started my work for the community and being able to assist the less fortunate that are going through difficult times. I was born in Puerto Rico. My parents are from the Dominican Republic. I grew up in Miami in the Alapata neighborhood. I went to local schools. I graduated from Miami-Jackson Senior High School, went to Miami-Dade College. My bachelor is from Bay Area University, and then my law degree is from St. Thomas University School of Law. I've been, involved in terms of the community. I've actively involved for many years in many different organizations that I care about and that I want to dedicate my time to. I am the president of the Dominican Bar Association. I'm also a member of the Educational Excellence School Advisory Council, that's commonly known as ESAC, in South Miami Middle School. I've been a volunteer attorney / judge for Miami-Dade County Teen Court for close to 7 years. I think if not the longest serving attorney, I'm close to it. I mentor teenagers when they commit a misdemeanor instead of going through the regular court system. They're judged by peers such as themselves that are teenagers. We have a jury, we have a full-blown trial, and also I mentor students that want to be attorneys in the future or just want to develop a sense of just being able to speak publicly and have that confidence. I'm also appointed guardian ad litem in a lot of family law cases, and I'm a legal counsel for victims of domestic violence and human trafficking in Miami and in Broward County. I'm very familiar with the courthouse. I've been in my practice, I'm not a transactional attorney. I have a very heavily litigated law firm, and I did that as an ASA as well. I can handle heavy caseloads. I'm very familiar with the court system, thinking quick on my feet, working as a team member, working on my own. I want to be a judge because I want to be able to make a bigger impact in the lives of other individuals. I realize that as attorneys, anyone who's an attorney has great power to be able to affect people's lives. I've been in front of many judges in my career, in my profession, and I want to be able to emulate those judges that make a positive difference in people's lives. I know what people are looking for because I have clients and they tell me what they're looking for when they go to court. Were they heard? Were they not heard? Were there someone disrespectful? Did they have that opportunity to, even if it's just for a minute or two, just say why it's important for them to be in court, to know that I advocated on their behalf, even if the judge at the end of the day didn't rule in their favor, but just listen to them and thought carefully as to why they ruled in a certain manner. So I hope that you give me the honor of giving me your vote. I have been endorsed by many local organizations, the South Florida Council of Firefighters, the local AFSCME that represents the local labor union members, by many local officials, such as the mayor of Aventura, Enid Weisman, who was my high school principal in Miami-Jackson, by many mayors, such as Sandra Harris, from the mayor of Miami Shores, Jason Pizzo, who's a senator, Florida State Senator, and many other officials, Robert Martell, the mayor of City of Medley. So I hope you honor me with your vote, number 92. And my Instagram is at Brenda for Judge, and my website is brendaforjudge.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
to Judge Watson and to Attorney Guerrero. I just want to quickly point out that between YouTube and Zoom, we have over 100 people. I'm a little competitive. I think it's probably one of the most well-attended judicial forums so far. So I want to especially thank our secretary, Bessie Navarro, who's the one who has been doing a lot of the behind the scenes work and contacting the judges and working with our co-hosts for this tremendous turnout. We will now have the Q&A.
Okay, Mr. Jeffrey Barkdale, he said he has 3 questions he wants to ask all the candidates. The first one is, what's the first thing that you'll do if you win? The second question is, what is your stance on landmark cases that current white ring? I don't think we can answer that one. Sorry about that, Mr. The third one is, do you think we can fix the Supreme Court, as in term limits, more seats, mandatory age retirement, etc., having the people vote for judicial candidates to be on the Supreme Court?
Do you want me to pronounce them?
What's that?
Do you want me to pronounce them?
Pronounce what?
Pronounce my questions.
Okay, go ahead.
What is the first thing that you'll do in office if you win? Like your very first task, your number one task to that. The second question, what is your stance on the landmark cases that the current SCOTUS overturned? Like Roe v. Wade and that kind of thing.
They can't answer that question, sir.
Okay.
They can't rule on current cases and stuff like that. That's against the rules.
Okay. How about three? What do you think can fix the Supreme Court? Examples like more seats, term limits, mandatory mandatory age retirement, having the people vote for judicial candidates to be on the Supreme Court, etc. Like that. There. I did.
Thank you. Judge Roy Watson.
Well, let me take that last one first. Yes, I would love to see all the Supreme Court justices running around the country campaigning the way we're forced to campaign. I don't think that's going to happen, and it's sort of above my pay grade. I don't know that any system is perfect. I understand why at a certain point in time there was a decision made to have judges democratically elected here in Florida. It does force us to get out into the community to understand the community better, and it does give the people a voice. Obviously, there are downsides because judges need to make difficult decisions and often need to do that and should not be worrying about political ramifications. So that's a downside of that. But in terms of what I will do if I am returned to the bench, I'll just roll up my sleeves and continue working. I have a big backlog, a lot of cases, over 700 cases that need to be tried, cases that need to be resolved. So I would be honored to be returned to the bench to continue doing the hard work that I have been doing. But having been out in the community during the campaign, I've discovered even more all of the great organizations, civic organizations, legal organizations that are doing a lot of good work in the community. And I would like to become even more involved in some of those organizations. One example is recently I attended a Brownsville Homeowners Association meeting and was just really impressed by how many members of that community care about what's happening in their community and work with the police to ensure the safety of their community. And that's one organization that I would like to become more involved in because as judges, we see everything that's happening in the community, and being more involved in the community, I think, helps make us better judges.
And Ms. Guerrero.
Well, the first thing I would do in office is hire my staff. I think, like you have to hire a bailiff, an assistant, JA, judicial assistant, make or create policies for my office that the attorneys and the pro se litigants follow so that everything is streamlined and everything's more efficient and more friendly to be able to have an office that is, just moves the case along and keeps the docket moving. I would introduce myself to everyone that's in my building that I'll be working with and make sure that I have that I'm introduce myself to them and that we have I have someone to turn to in case I need help because no one takes this job knowing. So make sure I have someone that I can, or more than one person that I can count on, that I can rely on if I have questions or if I need guidance. So those are the things that I would do initially, like the first things that are very important, that are the basics that are needed before I even step on the bench. As far as the other questions, I'm unable to answer them or prohibited from answering them.
Thank you, Ms. Guerrero. Moving on. Let's scroll down the chat. Mrs. Danella Aguila, what can regulate people to help fight corruption? I'm new to Florida and I heard it's a problem. So questions about what can we do as people to fight corruption?
I'm happy to take,
Judge Watson.
I was going to say, I'm happy to take that quickly. Both corruption and fraud, because as a prosecutor, I was involved prosecuting fraud. As a judge, I presided over cases involving allegations of fraud. I think what's very important is see something, say something. A lot of what really helps to discover fraud is when people report to law enforcement. That was very true in the federal healthcare fraud cases. oftentimes those were initiated because of a whistleblower. So that's one thing people can do, is just be very observant and to report when there are issues so that they can be investigated and dealt with appropriately.
Ms. Guerrero?
Well, I think that, there has to be protections for people that report corruption, so that people will feel more comfortable being able to protect them. As a judge, no, sorry, to report them. As a judge, I wouldn't be passing laws, I would be interpreting the law. And so I urge people, the people of the community, to go and lobby to your legislators, talk to them, because they were the ones that passed the laws, and lobby to make sure that if there's corruption, that they are dealt with appropriately as far as the laws are concerned, and how they will be handled, the sanctions and the punishment in criminal court. But as far as being able to report it, if you have anything, keeping a policy of, if there's corruption in your employment, in your job, to be able to feel comfortable enough that you're able to voice this concern and speak openly. And that applies to even someone working in a courthouse. If there's corruption in a courthouse, corruption wherever your place of employment is, making sure that that everyone's treated fairly, and that just because you have a certain title or you have a certain level or of employment, that you're not covered up and you're not protected, and that everyone feels comfortable reporting any corruption, from the low level to the high level.
Thank you so much. We're sorry we left you both flailing a bit. Our timer briefly disappeared. But we definitely want to thank both of you. So everyone who's watching, this was Judge Robert Watson and Attorney Brenda Guerrero, who are in Group 20 for Miami-Dade Circuit Court on your ballot. We are now going to hear from the two candidates in Group 34, which is Judge Mark Bloomstein, who is being challenged by Attorney Ariel Rodriguez. Judge Bloomstein, you have the floor.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, and our timer is back on.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm one of those who's double booked, so I appreciate you accommodating, and I'm at a remote site, so I'm making sure everything is connected. So my name is Mark Bloomstein. I am number 94 on the ballot. I am a native, born and raised here in Miami. I actually grew up in an area of Westchester. Used to be called Westchester. Now it's called Westchester. I am a Cuban, son of Cuban-born parents. And I have been practicing law for 26 years. And I have been serving as your judge since 2016, so almost 6 years. I have had the benefit of a lot of legal experience across the criminal and civil arenas. I began my practice of law in the U.S. Navy as a judge advocate general, serving as a prosecutor under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And then I transitioned in the military over to the criminal defense side. And I served both stateside and overseas places in Europe, as well as most recently, before taking the bench, in a little country called Djibouti in Africa. I have a civil practice experience, including both bringing cases as a plaintiff, as well as defending cases from claims brought against corporations. I've also been involved in class action work. I was heavily engaged in the Chinese drywall litigation, which took over my practice when I had my own firm, basically advocating on behalf of homeowners who were impacted by Chinese drywall here in Miami-Dade County, as well as in neighboring counties and other states across our country. Then I think your viewers should know that I come with experience both as an attorney as well as an elected official. So I was also a commissioner of my town years ago in the town of Surfside, Florida, that at the time I was on the commission, many people didn't even know where Surfside was on a map. And of course, now since the tragedy, we all know Surfside, Florida. The experience I also bring to the bench is I have served the people of Miami-Dade County as a volunteer on boards, including my appointment to the Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee, as well as my service on the Military Affairs Board. I'm proud of my participation in that board because we helped bring about what we now know as the Veterans Treatment Court. It's a section of the criminal court that is designed to help veterans who are impacted by mental health issues or substance abuse issues that do find themselves before the court for crimes that they are alleged to have committed. And it's a diversionary court, one where we employ organizations, including the Veterans Administration, so that we can help these veterans who have put their lives on the line for our country instead of incarcerating them. And so I was very proud to be involved in that movement. Since coming to the bench, I have been assigned to different areas. One division where I started was dependency, and that was a calling to address concerns affecting abused, neglected, and abandoned children, where we had to consider whether to terminate parental rights of those parents of those children before the court. After serving there for close to a year, I was assigned over to the criminal division, where I resolved felony matters, felony crimes that affected members of our community. I served there for 2.5 years, and I'm proud to say that because of my engagement and active involvement in cases, I maintained the lowest active case count of any circuit court judge, including ones very much more experienced than myself. And I attribute that to hard work, dedication, as well as my engagement with the attorneys. In July of 2020, I came over to the civil division where I sit now. And in that role, I essentially resolve civil disputes, claims that one makes against another, homeowners against insurance companies, personal injuries from auto accidents or slip and falls, as well as other injunctive matters that come before the court. And I have been doing that since July of 2020 till now. And I'm proud to say that I was handed 2,800 cases at the start, and I brought that caseload down to about 1,600 cases. So I resolved over 1,200 cases, plus the 100+ cases that come in every month. So I think that's a testament to my hard work, my understanding of legal issues, and
Time is out, Judge.
Thank you so much, Judge Bloomstein. You'll have a chance to speak to everyone again during the Q&A. Now we have Attorney Ariel Rodriguez. Attorney Rodriguez, you have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Ariel Rodriguez. I thank you for everyone's time here. I appreciate everyone's involvement here because judicial races matter, and forums like this are very important for the electorate. We all need to be educated because we need to exercise our constitutional right to vote. So I'm born and raised in South Florida. I grew up in Hialeah. I'm the son of immigrants. I would like to say that my parents really taught me 4 things in life. One is faith. Number 2 is education. I graduated from Cornell University, where I studied labor relations and human resource management, and I went to Notre Dame Law School, where I graduated with honors. Number 3, I learned work ethic from my parents. I've been a practicing attorney for 24 years. I first served as a law clerk with a federal judge, retired Stephen S. Mitchell, who was a retired judge in Alexandria, Virginia. After my clerkship, I've worked with several firms here in South Florida, namely Genovese Joblova Batista and Katz Barron, where my experience was in commercial litigation and bankruptcy litigation. In 2006, I joined the U.S. Department of Justice, where I'm a trial attorney right now, and our office is in charge of overseeing all the bankruptcy cases in our district. If anybody files for bankruptcy, whether it's an individual, a corporation, our office overlooks the system and overlooks the process to make sure everybody's treated fairly, whether you're a debtor or you're a creditor. And I've been doing that since then. Lastly, my parents really taught me to do good in our community. I've been involved in my community all my life. After going away for school, I came back home. So this is where I'm from. I can't see myself, being anywhere else in this country. My family, my roots, my culture is really here. And Miami, is really the place to be. Just to give an example of some of my community involvement, before I started running, I was a guardian ad litem for several years before I ran my campaign. So I understood the struggles that families went through, because it's a very strenuous and stressful situation when DCF has to get involved in taking children and putting them, in different placements. And another fun fact about me, I'm a football official. I do youth football, high school football, and college football. It's my community service. It's where I give back. And it's just been a great experience for me. Why I'm running for judge? It's really from my experience from Stephen S. Mitchell, who's retired now. He's the best judge I've ever seen in my life. He's a man of faith, man of compassion, a man of intellect, a man of empathy. You know, to this day, I don't know his party affiliation because it doesn't matter. If I could be 1% what he was as a judge, I know I'm doing the right thing and I'm serving my community. Lastly, I do want to focus on, you know, the support, you know, I'm receiving in this race. I have been endorsed by the Miami Herald. I've been endorsed by the police unions in Dade County, also been endorsed by the South Florida Council of Firefighters and also the local Teamsters Union and the local union for the city of Miami. So I encourage everyone to be educated. Races like this are very important. My social media, my website is A Rodriguez for Judge, either the number 4 or FOR. And I encourage everyone to learn more about us and learn more about me. My ballot number is 95, and I simply ask for your vote. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Judge Rodriguez. What we're going to do now is have the Q&A. Del Travis stepped away briefly, so if both of you look in the chat, there are questions that are posed to each of you.
I cannot see the chat. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So let me see. What is, for the civil division judicial candidates, Judge Bloomstein, you serve in the civil division?
I do, yes.
So for both of you, what is your position on the courts taking a more assertive position in urging landlords to enter into mediation with tenants and accepting rental assistance to reduce the number of evictions advancing to a final judgment and forcing people out of their homes?
So that question is probably better asked of a county court judge or candidate.
Okay. We can absolutely save that for a county court judge. There is a reporter, and Mr. Rodriguez, since you're running for circuit court and not county, we won't make you answer it either. There is a question to Mr. Bloomstein from a reporter asking you to provide the number of jury and bench trials you've participated in. Did you fill out the Miami Beach Bar questionnaire?
I did.
Is that something that you can forward to this reporter? Didn't you have to report those answers in that, or do you want to answer them here?
I believe they are included in that, and I'm happy to send that that questionnaire over. In terms of the number of jury trials I had as a practitioner, I assume that's the question.
That is the question. I don't know if you have that information.
Yes,
available.
I don't have it like in front of me, but roughly, I probably had I want to say approximately 10 jury trials as a practitioner. Most of them would have been in what we term federal court, because remember, I was a JAG attorney, so our practice was in federal military court, where I basically handled jury trials immediately upon becoming a JAG officer in the military. And then once I was a civil practitioner, then I would have handled some civil jury trials as well. Which is, I think, a big distinction in my career as a trial attorney my entire life versus my opposition who seeks to become a judge. And I'll let him answer that question. So it's a clear difference.
Thank you, Judge Bloomstein. I'll turn it back over to Del Travis after I ask Mr. Rodriguez the question for him. The question in the chat is from Frederick Gatson. He's one of the viewers on YouTube, and he wants to know, what would make you a better judge than the incumbent, and why have you decided to challenge this particular seat? And he says, yes, it is the people's seat.
So number one, I mean, why I decided to challenge a specific seat? I mean, I'm really, I don't think it's appropriate to comment exactly why I chose this seat. I will say that if you look at my race, I declared 15 months ago. And if you look at the other 6 races, everyone declared within 3 months of qualifying. So I've been out there to try to get there, to community, to get people comfortable with me as to, you know, why I believe I'm the better choice. As for the bench trial and jury trial, I've never done a jury trial in bankruptcy court. We cannot do jury trials. I have done over 7 bench trials in my life, but at the end of the day, I'm a litigator. We're all litigators here. I've been litigating for 24 years. I believe I have the experience and knowledge of all the rules of evidence and all the civil procedure rules, and I believe I'll be successful in that. I do want to comment about the county court, the landlord tenant. I know it doesn't really apply to circuit, but I think it's relevant to answer that question. I think as a judge, we're not simply just calling balls and strikes. We're not just sitting there and being, you know, reactive. We also have to be proactive. That doesn't mean we have to force settlements, we have to force issues, or force people to do what they don't want to do. But as judges, we also have to be active in our cases and manage and make sure both parties are communicating with each other. Because without that communication, it becomes very adversarial and cases could take longer than they should be. So I think it is very relevant for judges to be engaged with the parties to make sure cases are moving and see if there is a possible resolution. Because nobody at the end of the day wants a judge to decide a case. Whenever a judge decides, there's always going to be somebody who's going to be unhappy. So it's our job as judges to move cases and try to encourage people to settle.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rodriguez. So everyone, that was group 34, which is
Can't
going
have
to be-
another question or we're out of time.
We're at 6 seconds, so not with lawyers. Non-lawyers could answer a question in the 2 seconds we have left, but as a lawyer, I'll speak for them. No. But everyone, don't forget that these judges are very accessible. They all have websites. They all have emails. They all are going to be at additional forums. There are chances to ask them your questions. If they can answer them pursuant to the Code of Ethics, I'm sure they will. So I want to thank Judge Bloomstein. So that's Mark Bloomstein, and he's being challenged by Ariel Rodriguez. They will be on your ballot under the Circuit Court, Group 34. So thank you so much, Group 34. We are now going to hear from the two candidates in Group 52, which is Judge Oscar Rodriguez-Fonts, who is being challenged by former Judge Jason Block. Judge Rodriguez-Fonts, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I want to thank all the organizations for putting on this forum. Again, my name is Oscar Rodriguez-Fonts, and I'm number 97 on the ballot. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. Before going to law school, I didn't take the normal path right out of college. I worked for 2 members of Congress before going to law school. And that's actually what prompted me to consider law school after 8 years of working for 2 members of Congress, because I was working so closely with the law that I developed a love for the law and really enjoyed it. So I decided to go to law school. Upon graduating from law school, my first job out of law school was with the Public Defender's Office, where I worked under, at that time, it was Bennett Brummer, who was the public defender at that time. I'm currently endorsed, by the way, by the current public defender, Carlos Martinez, which I'm proud to say. After that, I was an attorney for the city of Miami, which gave me a unique opportunity to get my feet wet, litigating a wide variety of cases, both in state and federal court, in civil. And then subsequent to that, I was in private practice with my own practice and law partners for about 8 years before I decided to go to law school. Now, one of the things that I get asked a lot is why did I decide to run for judge? And that's because I've been serving this community from as far back as 1990, when I worked for a member of Congress doing constituent services, to various nonprofit organizations, and as an attorney through the Public Defender's Office and the City Attorney's Office, because I have an inclination to serve. And I found myself at some point in my legal career with the unique opportunity to combine that inclination to serve and continue to serve this community and incorporate my legal experience. And I thought that was a unique opportunity that I wanted to do. And I felt that I could now combine the two and continue to serve this community. I have served, I have a wide variety of experience, like I said, not only as an attorney, but I've served as a judge in the criminal division, in the family law division, and I'm currently serving in the civil division. I'm endorsed by various by various organizations, the firefighters, the United Teachers of Dade, the United Faculty of Miami-Dade College, ASME, which, as you know, is the civil service employees, the AFL-CIO, the FOP, the PBA, the Union for the Jackson Memorial Hospital healthcare professionals, and the Teamsters. Not to mention, I also have endorsements of endless amount of attorneys in this community, which shows, I think, the support that I have in the legal community after 6 years of being on the bench, as well as politicians from every aspect of this diverse community, from some of the largest cities, the mayors for some of the largest cities, to commissioners, and like I said, politicians from every aspect of this diverse community, which I'm very proud to say that. Another thing I'd like to add is that I am number 97 on the ballot. Like I said, I'd like to continue to serve this community, and I humbly ask for your support. I encourage you to go to my website and read more about me on my bio. My website is Judge Rodriguez Fonts. That's with a hyphen, Judge Rodriguez-fonts, FONTS.com. I encourage you there. You can have a list of all the endorsements and everything. One more thing I'd like to add as part of my, my community service that I'm also proud of is I served also on the Code Enforcement Board for the City of Miami, and I also served in the redemption program through the Public Defender's Office. That is a program that helps those people who have prior criminal records to seal or expunge their records, because it often becomes a hindrance to getting a job or dealing with other aspects of their lives to be able to move on with their lives. So I volunteered in that program to help these people who had criminal records to seal or expunge their records so that they can move on with their lives. So like I said, I've had extensive years of serving this community through nonprofit and profit organizations and through the government entity as well. And I humbly ask everyone to consider me on the ballot, number 97, Oscar Rodriguez Fonts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Now we have also from Group 52, we have former Judge Jason Block. Mr. Block, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just want to make sure you can see me. Okay.
Yes, we can. You're good.
All right. Thank you. Again, my name is Jason Block, and thank you, Kira, and all the groups that are putting on this forum. Kira, my Jewish mother, unfortunately, is unable to make the forum tonight, but I'm sure, like yours, she would love to be if she could. I'm a former judge, and I'm running to be judge again. I grew up in South Florida, attended public schools. My dad was a small business owner. My mother was a substitute teacher. I was president of the debate team in high school. Fun fact, the president of the debate team before me was Glenn Greenwald. Some of you may recognize that name. He was part of the journalism team that broke the Edward Snowden papers, and I believe won a Pulitzer as far as that team. Anyway, I have some interesting stories about that, but I won't get into that in the 5 minutes we have. After school, I went away to college to University of California, Berkeley. Then I went to Georgetown Law School in Washington, D.C., where I graduated with honors in the approximate top 10% of my class. And I was also selected to be part of their nationally recognized appellate litigation clinic, and had the opportunity to practice in federal courts while still in law school, federal appellate courts. After law school, I came back home and joined the county attorney's office. As an assistant county attorney, which is a civil office, I essentially represented the people and the government of Miami-Dade County, the taxpayers and the residents, which was an incredibly rewarding job for me, being in public service. I was lead counsel in numerous jury trials and appeals, including in the Florida Supreme Court and in the United States Courts of Appeals. And by the time I left the office, I was one of the most seasoned litigators in the office. After 20 years as an assistant county attorney, I became a circuit judge. And I did that through the Judicial Nominating Commission. Now, for those of you who don't know, unlike an election, the commission makes nominations based on applications. And it's a very rigorous and intensive screening and vetting process. It's an extremely thick application, and they review your work materials. You have to disclose all your opposing counsel. They speak to former judges, former opposing counsel, and it's a very rigorous process. And I was very honored that from among over 30 applicants, I was nominated and I was appointed to circuit judge based on qualifications and merit. Now, often when I'm campaigning, or even when I'm not campaigning, I'm asked by voters or residents, listen, we don't really know anything about the judges or the judicial candidates. How are we supposed to know who's qualified? Well, this is one of the ways you can know, because I was selected to be a judge, again, based on a rigorous screening process based on qualifications and merit. Since leaving the bench, I've devoted my time to, I guess, primarily my new rescue dog, Django. I've been fostering dogs during the pandemic, and he is now my best friend, but also to more seriously pro bono representation and working with nonprofit boards. I joined the board of directors of Legal Services of Greater Miami, which serves thousands every year. But beyond that, myself, I've devoted over 1,000 hours of pro bono work assisting individuals, families, and organizations in need, including against addictions, foreclosures, victims of domestic violence, and more, including children who were abused and neglected by their parents. And I was humbled to receive legal aid's Access to Justice Pro Bono Award for 2021-22. Just completed my 3rd year president of my temple, and I have been serving on Miami's Civilian Investigation Panel, or Investigative Panel. What that panel does is investigate allegations of police misconduct. And again, I was serving on that panel from 2018 until I had to resign to run from judge, doing that very important work. As far as endorsements, I've been endorsed by the United Teachers Aid and others. I want to point out something in particular. I was also endorsed by SAVE and most recently the Miami Herald. SAVE, as you know, exists to advocate for equal rights to everyone, in particular the LGBTQ community. After my screening interview, I was surprised to learn that my opponent was not interested in participating. He declined the invitation, was not interested in their endorsement.
All right, I have to, that's not true. Okay, so
Excuse me,
I'm
Judge.
gonna ask him not to put words in my mouth. That's
Okay.
that's not the case. So
Judge Fons,
he's,
please
that's
don't
a,
interrupt.
I understand it, but that's an assumption and I have to
I'm
clarify.
sorry, we did say that each judge would have 5 minutes interrupted, so we can
Okay.
certainly deal with that in the Q&A.
Okay,
Let me just rephrase that. It was my understanding based on information that was given to me that Judge Rodriguez Fonts declined to be interviewed and participate. But I will say this, among the endorsements that he talked about, he left out one, and that's the Christian Family Coalition. In contrast, I was not invited to be a part of their process and did not attend any of their events. But I'm very proud of my SAVE endorsement and my endorsement from the Miami Herald.
Thank you, that's time. So thank you, Judge Block. We are now going to have a 4-minute Q&A moderated by Del Travis.
Judge Fons, this comes from one of our members. They want to know what they make of your involvement with the Christian Coalition family, and you both attending that event and overturning a role by your endorsement of that group.
okay. So let's start off by saying, by clarifying that the organization does not endorse. That's a misconception. Okay. What they do is they rate candidates based on their qualifications, and it's done like a highly rated kind of thing. And that's no different as GABA, the Cuban American Bar Association, and the Miami-Dade Bar Association does. They rate and they make a determination by different means, but they determine the qualification, but they do not endorse. So I'm not endorsed by CFC. As for my attending the event, let me say that that event was planned months in advance. It was a candidate breakfast. It was not a celebration of Roe v. Wade. In fact, the event was on Sunday, June 25th. The decision came out on the Friday before, less than 24 hours before that breakfast. So it was never planned as an event overturning Roe v. Wade. So to make that clear. Now, I was not a keynote speaker, as it's been mentioned. I was unexpectedly called to come up and ask to say a few words, which I did. I thanked them for their time to get, and all I did was speak about my being on the ballot and consider me on the ballot. So as a sitting judge, okay, let me just say that as a sitting judge, I represent in the entire community, and as a candidate for re-election, I am taking my message to all groups in the community that invite me to speak, such as I am here with a progressive organization. So I go to every aspect, to all events, and I don't believe that I've missed any. I am forbidden from endorsing any political position and will strictly abide by the rules set forth by the judicial canons. Accordingly, my attendance at any event should not be construed as an endorsement of any political ideology. I will continue to do my job in a fair and neutral manner, as I have done for the last 6 years.
Thank you, Judge. The next question I'm going to have for former Judge Block. One person wants to know, as a judge, can you make a law affecting our climate change and global warming?
The question is, as a judge, can I make a law affecting climate change?
Yes.
So, I mean, the short answer is no. Those kinds of things are relegated to the legislative branch. They make the laws, and it's up to the courts to interpret and enforce the laws.
Good answer. Okay, going down the line. Do we have, okay. Judge Fonts. Question, if a police officer or Florida State Trooper walks into a woman's health clinic while an abortion is being performed, who broke the law first?
Just by merely walking into a clinic, I don't know that there's a law violating a police officer walking into a clinic.
Okay. Next question. Many of your colleagues believe you have a temperament issue during your last stint as a judge. I guess it's for Jason Block. Will you do anything better than the previous term?
Okay, I'm not quite sure who or what that's referring to. I will tell you that it is always my intention and desire, sincere desire, to get along with my colleagues and with the litigants and the lawyers before me. I would say that in the last judicial poll, when I was a judge, 50% of the lawyers rated me as exceptionally well qualified, and another 40% rated me as qualified, so 90%. That was one of the highest ratings in that poll that year. And of course, that was when I was sitting as a judge. This time around, I've received the endorsement of the League of Prosecutors. I'll say of all of the organizations, that is the only organization that is actually made up of lawyers who practice in court before us. Both Judge Rodriguez-Fonts and I served in the criminal division as judge. And even though he is the incumbent, the practicing lawyers elected to endorse me in this election.
And that is time.
Thank you so much. So that is Judge Rodriguez-Fonts, who is being challenged by former Judge Jason Block. They will be on your ballot as Circuit Judge Group 52. And that actually wraps up our 4 races for Circuit Court. So we have heard from Group 3, Lodi Jean, and her opponent who was not here, Teresa Cervera. We heard from Group 20, Judge Robert Watson, who's being challenged by Brenda Guerrero. We heard from Group 34, which is Judge Mark Bloomstein, being challenged by Attorney Errol Rodriguez. And we just heard from Group 52, which is Judge Oscar Rodriguez-Fonts, who's being challenged by former Judge Jason Block. We are now going to shift our attention to Miami-Dade County Court. And we got a little bit of a primer on County Court from one of the questions when we learned, I guess, that that's where evictions are handled. I admittedly only practice family law. I have no idea whatsoever, but I think that's great that we all got a legal lesson tonight. So what we're going to do is we're first going to start with Group 5, which is Judge Fred Serafin. His opponent is Attorney Rainier Diaz de la Portilla. Mr. Diaz de la Portilla is not here tonight. He did not respond to our invitation. He also did not respond to our follow-up telephone call. If he's out there watching on YouTube or if somebody wants to tell him, he's welcome to the forum. I'm sure folks have questions for him. So Judge Serafin, thank you so much for being here, and you have the floor.
Good to
Thank
see
you so much, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for hosting this wonderful event. Thank you for the opportunity to make contact with the voters, the most important people. The most important endorsement for each and every one of us is when you go cast that ballot, when you cast that vote. Who I am, let me see, I'm 63 years old. I should start from the beginning. And I've spent half my life in public service. I've been in this profession, started in 1986 when I was offered the position at the public defender's office, moved down from New York, and worked there for about 5 years. Then I took a break, I had my own practice. And then I went back to my first love, my passion, which is defending people who didn't have money to hire lawyers to represent them. And I guess I have to tell you why I'm so passionate about this. And it goes back to my birth in Haiti. And I was born in 1950s. Well, I told you my age, so it was 58. But in 57, my father was elected against a dictator. He was an opponent of the dictator Duvalier, a tyrant. My dad was elected and he stood up against the dictator. He stayed in Haiti and fought against it with my mother by his side. They made a decision to fight to protect people's rights. He even went into the House when they were about to vote to give him plenary power, Duvalier that is, and he challenged them as to why journalists were disappearing in Haiti. For that, he was killed. I have a brother who went back to Haiti after a while. After he dropped me off to my mom in New York, he was arrested by the Duvalier baby doc and put in prison for 5.5 years as a political prisoner. Neither had justice, neither had court, neither had a judge review their cases. For me, it became really real, and I got the message then in 1982 when I was arrested for an armed robbery I did not commit. Some of you might have received this crazy thing that's been sent out. And no, I was not guilty. Some people believe you have to be guilty to be arrested. No. So because I was not guilty, because of that experience, I made a commitment in 1982, I think, just before I went to law school, to dedicate my life, to devote my life to public service as a public defender, defending people who, like me, did not have money to hire a lawyer, and having that experience my own to see how quickly government can take people's freedoms. I lived it. I slept in the jail, went to court, was released by an African-American judge, Judge Bruce Wright, who allowed me to go home and post bail $250. This is why I'm passionate about being a county court judge in the people's court. I share this incident with you. Today, this young man comes to court, and he came physically because he wanted to see me, he says. He didn't want to be on Zoom. And he comes and he says, "You don't remember me, do you?" I kind of remember him. He says, "Man, I just want to thank you for saving my life," he says. He says, "You had me come to that court that day. I walked in there. You said to me, 'Good morning.' And I said, 'Yo, what's up?' And you said to me, 'No, you can't do that. This is a courtroom. You can't do anything you want to.'" And he tells me that I had him up there, and he now tells me that he owns his own business, he's successful, and he came in to give me credit for it. I'm like, listen, I'm passionate about being in county court judge because, frankly, I am blessed that this happens often, that people come back and tell me how I've saved his life. So I promised him I have to go by his store to go. Maybe I should get him to make a testimony about that and play it on my website. But I made a commitment for county court also because I get to work with young lawyers. When I started down here from New York, that was my first job. I didn't get this mentoring. So I decided I wanted to do that. Why? Because in criminal court, young lawyers sometimes don't appreciate the fact that they're dealing with people's lives, not cases, but people's lives. It could be a traffic ticket, but for that person, it's the most important case that in the world. So I stayed there, and I was complimented. One of them saying that I was the most popular judge in Dade County, but I'm biased. I agree with them. But I stayed for all these years in county court. I never wanted to go to circuit court. I'm more than qualified for that. 15 years as a lawyer, 20 years on the bench. But you have to have passion because we don't deal with cases. We don't call strikes and balls. We make decisions that affect people's lives. And I got encouraged again to keep doing this because, like I said, I'm 63. I've been doing this for 20 years. I still have the passion. It still burns in me. And I'm going to cover whatever I have to make sure
that is time, Judge.
Thank you so much, Judge
He's not here. Can I have
Serafin.
his time?
You're about to have the whole Q&A to yourself because your opponent, Mr. Rainier Diaz de la Portilla, is not here. And so if anyone who has questions for Judge Serafin, there might already be some in the chat. Del Travis, or you can read them or Del Travis can ask them. And we will now have the Q&A.
First of all, I want to say, Judge Serafin, I met you some years ago at a breakfast, a prayer breakfast we had in Homestead down south. Yeah.
Is that the one I was the keynote speaker in?
Yes.
Okay.
I was so inspired. And
thank you for saying that.
I'm inspired again. The first question I have for you. Can you explain the incident of the denial of a female attorney's request for a break to breakfast pump as a subject of one attack against the pieces against you?
Right. And I'm not going to address the attack piece. And let me say that, you have some incidents in your life that you want to start the whole day over again. And this is something I regret, one of those things that happened. I don't have any excuses for it. I can tell you that I was not at my best, but it happened. And that's one of the things we judges, we have to do. We have to be at our best at every moment that we are addressing people. And I apologize to the attorney, and we're good. But some people think that means I'm anti-breastfeeding. And I want to tell them, look, I was raised by 5 women, a courageous mother, 4 sisters, very courageous. And they tell me I was breastfed by my aunt also, who happened to have had a child at the same time, while my mother was busy campaigning to see if she could get my father out of prison. I have great respect for women, and those who want to discount 36 years of public service because of an incident, I respect that, because we all have our ways of thinking and our values. But I value women so much because of the way my mother raised me and my sisters and their friends. I mentor now about 15 young ladies on a regular basis, committed on a regular basis, outside of the courtroom, that are lawyers, accountants, young professionals, some are students. So if I didn't respect women, I would not want to invest my time and resources into their careers. Our motto is servant leadership, and to know that they have responsibility for their own communities. And that's what we work on. And they teach me a whole lot too. I mentor young women in court when they start out, and some of them still keep in contact with me, even though I'm now in North Dade as opposed to the criminal courthouse, and looking forward to working with them. So yes, this is one regrettable incident. I am so grateful that the attorney and I were good again. She's forgiven me, I believe, because we are friendly. And I moved on by it. And Lord willing, I learned from it. There was something that the opponent had mentioned, is that now they're addressing a problem that was apparently common in the system, where there's now a breast pumping room for the ladies who are nursing. And at least that came out of it. It came out of it good for me, because I learned. And sometimes you just have to step back, face the consequences, and learn the lesson. And I'm grateful that that happened.
Thank you for your answer, Judge. And I think that pretty much clarifies what they wanted to hear. So looking through the chat, I don't see any more for you.
I did see one question for Judge Serafin a little bit higher up that said, what do you think are the biggest challenges to the
Oh, I
county
see it.
courts today?
Yeah, I see it.
What is the biggest challenges to what?
To the county courts today.
Well, it's just a matter of meeting the needs of the people as quickly as possible. You know, we have this backlog of cases. People have been living with these cases for a long time. And, you know, I remember when I had a case pending, even though it wasn't as long, but you still don't sleep well at night. You still have to consider what could possibly happen regardless of the charge. And so I think getting those cases resolved as quickly as possible, as best as we can, to serve justice, I think is what we have to do now.
Thank you so much, Judge Serafin. You have 24 seconds if you have any closing remarks, and then we'll move on to the next group.
Well, certainly, I am honored to be appearing before you to ask you to consider allowing me to serve you for another 6 years. I still have the burning passion, you know, you got that burning desire. I still have it. I'm still happy that I get good feedback from the people that I am serving, and that I'm making their lives a little bit better. And that's what I think we have to do as judges, is make people's life a little bit better. And by the way, I had one young man, I was leaving a nightclub the other day, and he comes after me, runs after me, and he says, Judge Serafin, I just want to ask you, I want to thank you for keeping me in jail. I was like, what? He says, yes, thank you for keeping me in jail. Man, I was such a mess, but you handled me, and now he owns a business and so forth. So I want to keep doing that. I want to keep doing it. My number is 99, and voting is going on now. And I'll ask you to please cast that vote. It's coming up. Absentee ballots are out. Early voting is going to happen. And I'll be more than privileged and honored to serve you again another 6 years. So I thank you in advance.
Thank you so much, Judge Serafin. So to remind everybody, Judge Serafin is running for Miami-Dade County Court in Group 5. That will be on your ballot below the circuit court races. His opponent is attorney Rainier Diaz de la Portilla, who was invited and who elected not to attend. We are now going to hear from the two candidates in Group 19, which is Judge Jeffrey Kolikoff, who is being challenged by attorney Lisette de la Rosa. Judge Kolikoff, you have the floor.
Good evening. I'm Judge Jeffrey Kolikoff, number 101 on your ballot. Thank you, Kira, for moderating. Thank you to all the organizations who have put this together. Hi, Jacob. I can't see you. I know you're there. And thank you to all the voters who have been here and are listening to all your judicial candidates to talk about why we believe we're the best, most qualified candidates for the job. Now, I've been privileged for the last 2.5 years to serve as a county court judge in the mental health, problem solving, and criminal division. I deal with some of the most difficult cases and some forgotten people in our society, the mentally ill. These are oftentimes folks who are untreated, unmedicated, sometimes undiagnosed with mental illness, and they've also been oftentimes abandoned by their family. And mental illness affects everyone. It affects all walks of life, the rich, the poor, no matter what your ethnicity is, no matter what your gender is, it affects everyone. And what I do is try to help them to find a path, try to help them find treatment, to find medication, to find housing, to find opportunities to be productive members of society. And I have enjoyed every minute of that. And I hope that you'll continue to allow me to do so by casting your ballot. I'm a lifelong resident of Miami-Dade County. I've lived here since I was 5 days old. Admittedly, I have no recollection of being 5 days old, but I've been told that I've been here since I was 5 days old. And I grew up in Perrine and Kendall.
Okay, South Miami in the house.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And then I had the opportunity to leave, and I went to Bucknell University, and I went to Mercer University Law School. Now, my life, there was a traumatic event in my life when I was 8 years old. In 1987, my father was shot and paralyzed in one of the first workplace shootings in the United States, and he was the only one who survived that shooting. Now, living with a paraplegic is a remarkable experience. And living with a paraplegic like my father was even more so, because you don't realize how difficult everything is when your locomotion is by your arms. And he had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning just to go ahead and get out of bed and get showered and get bathed and brush his teeth and shave, and just to be able to be ready to be out the door at 7 or 7:30 so that he could take his 3 children to school. So I learned work ethic from him, and I miss him every day. He died about 5 years ago. But if he can do it, I can do it. So there are no excuses for not being able to do things. I spent 6.5 years as a prosecutor at the state attorney's office, handling mostly fraud cases for at least 3.5 years of that. I also handled violent cases and quality of life offenses. And actually, I was a prosecutor in the mental health problem solving court in 2006 and 2007. So, and I've also had a chance to be a civil litigator, and I did that for 8 years after I left the state attorney's office, when my wife said, if you want to have a family, you got to make more money. So I went ahead and did that. I've had the opportunity to see cases from all sides, meaning that I've been a plaintiff's attorney and a prosecutor. I've been a defense attorney, both criminal and civil. I've been a juror on a criminal case, and I've also been a judge on criminal cases. I've tried 14 cases as a trier of the law in the last year, which is the most in county court by far. And Mr. Hurd mentioned a few minutes ago in the chat that he said that a judge doesn't control the backlog. And I disagree respectfully, because a judge does control the flow of their cases. You don't have to listen to me and tell me that I'm qualified, but I would hope you'd listen to some of the organizations who have endorsed me. I'm endorsed by the United Teachers of Dade. I'm endorsed by SAFE. I'm endorsed by the United Faculty of Miami-Dade College. I'm endorsed by the Police Benevolent Association and the Fraternal Order of Police, by the AFL-CIO, by the League of Prosecutors, by the SEIU, which is nurses and doctors and other health professionals from Jackson Memorial Hospital, by community newspapers, and by the Miami Herald. And the reason I'm endorsed by those organizations, I believe, is because I'm the most qualified candidate in Group 19 to be a judge, because I've been doing this work. I want to continue doing this work. I love this community. I want to make this community better for all of you and for my family, my 3 children, ages 8, 4, and 2. And I sincerely hope that you will vote for me on August 23rd or any time up until then. Jeffrey Kolikoff, number 101 on the ballot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you so much, Judge Kolikoff. Now we are going to hear from Attorney Lisette De La Rosa. Ms. De La Rosa, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kira, for putting this together, and everyone that's here that's giving us the opportunity to speak to you. So I am Lisette De La Rosa, and I'm the candidate for County Court Judge, and I'm number 100 on the ballot. I am born and raised here in Miami-Dade County. I am the daughter of immigrants of Cuban parents who came to this country to give us a better life. I was raised in Allapattah and grew up there. I went to school in a small Catholic school, Corpus Christi in Allapattah. I continued to Champaign, another very small school. Nonetheless, I worked really hard. I got to go to Miami-Dade College, then to the University of Miami, where I obtained my bachelor's, and I got to go to Nova Southeastern University, where I obtained my law degree. Since I got into the 6th grade, I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. And because I knew that I wanted to do that, I went ahead and I worked very hard, and I started working in law firms. I worked as a file clerk, a legal clerk, a paralegal, a receptionist, and eventually a lawyer. I went on to work and I got my degree in law in 2001. I've been practicing for what's almost 21 years. In that time, I have been a civil trial attorney. I have been in courts every day since the day that I got my bar exam, my bar scores. I became a lawyer to help people. I have been able to do both sides. In other words, I have been able to represent defendants and I've been able to represent plaintiffs. And it gives me a unique perspective in order to be able to see cases from all angles. I have been, in those 21 years, I have done countless jury trials, close to 50 jury trials, close to 100 bench trials. I have argued motions upon motions. I have done depositions. I know what it is to be in court. And I also know how to mediate. I also know how to, when my clients need their cases settled, that it doesn't go that far. I have been able to mediate countless cases and be before the court and take care of my clients accordingly. I have been able to do this and work in county court the majority of my career. I have done countless cases in county court, and that's why I'm running in county court, because I know that it is the people's court. I am a person that I am the county. I see the people that go in there. I see my parents. I see myself, because my parents worked very hard to be able to give us a good life. They worked. My father was a butcher in Liberty City up until he retired. And I come from humble beginnings. I am endorsed by the Hispanic Police Officers Association. I'm endorsed by Mayor of Medley, which is Robert Martel. I've endorsed by Josiette de la Cruz, Mayor Josiette de la Cruz. I am running because I want to help the people of Miami-Dade County. I am a mom. I am a wife. I have 2 beautiful children. I have mentored them. I have mentored young lawyers. I have gone ahead and I have worked for foundations such as the Miami Bridge, which helps underprivileged children to have aged out of the group, go to group homes, to give them the possibility to be able to go ahead and get those qualifications that they need to go out into the real world. I am here to humbly ask for your vote, number 100, to be the next county court judge. I believe that I am the best candidate between my life experience and my work experience. I know what it is to represent individuals. I know what it is to be inside of a courtroom. I know that I am humbled. I will bring integrity. I will work my hardest to make sure that my cases are pushed forward and that everyone, absolutely everyone, gets their day in court, because everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone should walk out feeling that they had their cases heard and their voice heard in court. Thank you so much. And again, my name is Lisette De La Rosa, and I am candidate for County Court Judge, and I'm number 100 on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney De La Rosa. We are now going to have a Q&A for these 2 candidates who are in Group 19. Del Travis stepped away. This is one of
Well, Kira,
if you guys could
if
read
I
the
may, Kira?
questions in the chat.
Sure, I can read it, and I think the first one is directed at me because you mentioned treating cases with humanity and how, as a judge, can you change the system with how suspects are treated? How can judges carry out this work in the community? And I very much thank you, Mr. Cho, for the question, because the mental health diversion court and frankly, mental health issues require a great deal of education. In Dade County, we have worked with the police departments on crisis intervention training so that police officers understand that someone who's talking to themselves and is having maybe a mental health crisis as opposed to committing a criminal act, and that they really need to go ahead and go to a treatment facility, not to jail. And so the reality is that there are many things that we can do. The other thing is that judges need to identify people who have mental illness and identify what we can do to help them. And you know, the good news is for 2.5 years, I've been doing that, and I try to encourage my colleagues to do it. And it's really rewarding work, and I hope I can continue to do it.
Ms. De La Rosa, there's a question for you in the chat. Are you able, it's specifically addressed to you? Are you able to read it and respond to it?
Let me see. Give me 1 second. I believe it's from YouTube, correct?
Yes.
It says, Counselor Delaware, okay, how do you challenge someone with such a vast experience, especially with the mental ill, when this is a skill that is lacking in Miami judiciary? I am a student of the law. The same way that my opponent, when he took the bench, he did not have that experience because of his background. Any judge that goes in there and goes into that position will do it with the utmost humility, and they will learn, and they will treat every case with the utmost respect that it's needed, because it is true, the mental health is extremely important and must be taken with complete care. And I believe that if I was to be placed in that position, and again, nobody knows where you're placed, I would do so with the much humility, and I would take every case and I would understand every case and I would take it to heart, and I would do the best that I possibly could for those individuals, because those are the individuals that need to be heard 100%. And I am qualified, and I believe that I am qualified to be able to take on those cases just as well if I am placed in that division.
Okay. Next question we have from Mr. Jeffrey. And I'll start with you, Ms. Lissette. What is the first thing you would do when you're in office? If you win?
Sure. Absolutely. Is that the question?
Yes.
Yes, I would absolutely take a hold of the caseload that is given to me, and I would promptly start working on those cases so that the cases are moving. As it was mentioned earlier, there is a huge backlog in the case, in our court system because of the pandemic. So I would efficiently move all those cases along to make sure that everyone is heard, to make sure that those cases, so that they're able to get a resolution to their cases as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible, because I do believe that that's one of the most important things that we need to do right now because of the immense backlog that there is.
Okay, Judge Kolokov, how would you? Yes. Well, you're in office. If you were to be reelected.
Okay, what would I do if I was reelected? Well, I hope that the voters here will go ahead and elect me and allow me to continue to do the work that I've been doing. To address the backlog in the county court, I would suggest that not all divisions have a backlog, because my division has none. But I volunteer to help other divisions to try to ease their backlogs. I think we could do more in terms of cross-designated judges to handle different types of cases and try to alleviate that backlog. COVID has really been very difficult for us because there are so many cases, and the backlog is going to get worse because in January, the jurisdiction limit goes up from $30,000 at the maximum jurisdiction to $50,000. So that means there's going to be an influx of cases, and there are no new judges to handle those cases. So I suggest that that defining a solution for that would be exceptionally helpful to try to solve the backlog and also give more access to justice for everyone.
Also, Judge Coe, I have one more quick
I think we
question.
have to stop with the Q&A. We're running a few minutes over time and the time for Q&A is up. But just a reminder to everyone, all of these judges are accessible to you. So if you do continue to have questions, you can reach out to them and hopefully they will answer. We are now going to hear from the two candidates in our final group, which is group 42 for county court. It is the races between Judge Scott Janowitz, and he is being challenged by attorney Alicia Garcia Priovalos. Judge Janowitz, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Group 42, number 103. Hi to my Jewish mother and father who are watching on the live stream link. Being a judge is more than a question of service and experience from 30 years ago. We need judges that are knowledgeable now about multiple areas of the law, can handle problems that come up, different perspectives, and the understanding of diverse people. You know, county civil, we deal with 50-30% of cases where one side doesn't have an attorney. And you have to be able to handle a docket and handle people and preside over jury trials. We resolve disputes and instruct on the law. And these are the factors you should consider. And that's why I think I should keep being a judge. I'm proud to be fully endorsed by Save Dade and the United Teachers of Dade. And I'm also endorsed by the AFL-CIO, the PBA, SEIU, and other organizations and individuals. Notably, I'd like to point out the Christian Family Coalition would like you to actually support my opponent. I was appointed in May 2020 on several factors. I was born and raised here in Miami, went to Pinecrest Elementary, Southwood Middle, and then Ransom Everglades. I'm a graduate of Carnegie Mellon, and then I became a technology consultant helping businesses grow and develop through and change through technology. So then I decided to do a career change, and I went to the University of Miami, put myself through that law school. I'm still paying that $150,000 of debt 16 years later. But despite having all that, I went to be a prosecutor, and I did that for 3.5 years, where I did everything from DUIs to first-degree homicides. And besides being a prosecutor, I've been a criminal defense attorney, which was a most rewarding experience, including being able to make sure that an 18-year-old kid who had been jailed for first-degree murder by the Miami State Attorney's Office on charges, who was not guilty. He was completely innocent and had a actual alibi on it, and had been sitting in jail for 2 years. And I was able to get him out. I was also a civil litigator representing individuals and small businesses with insurance claims, with consumer debts, with eviction actions, which guess what? That takes up about 95% of what I do as a judge. We also did bankruptcies, and my firm, which was me and a partner, we also worked with ERIG, which is a legal insurance group that a lot of unions and municipal workers get. I was AV rated in insurance and criminal after having 86 jury trials, and I'm licensed as an attorney in Florida, Colorado, and Georgia. I'm hardworking and I was dedicated. I love the law every minute of the day. I read every third and fourth DCA opinion and Florida Supreme Court opinion, and I love the idea of the study of it. The other reason I was appointed is because I applied for 12 times over 8 years. So my application was analyzed by the public and by the 17,000 lawyers in Miami-Dade County, so they could weigh, and the judges, and they could weigh on my qualifications, and there was enormous positive feedback. As your county court judge, I went immediately into action in May 2020. I helped the circuit transition to Zoom. Now, we talked about it, and no one's actually been able to give you an answer. You want an answer on the housing crisis? I'm the judge. Out of 123 judges, within 2 months on being on the bench, I'm the one who went and said, we're going to change that. And I helped start a program, and I led a team. And I worked with the mayor's office, I worked with the Board of County Commissioners, and I got funding. And we started what's called Court Help, the Court Housing Eviction Landlord Tenant Portal. I love it, the name, because I came up with it. It's my baby, and I helped run that team, and we implemented it. And what does that allow people to do? It's a free online resource for mediation before an eviction, because we all know if you actually get evicted, you get a 24-hour knock by the police. You're not eligible for Section 8 housing anymore. And social services become overwhelmed, as well as homeless shelters. So I wanted to change that. And so far, I think we have a near 100% success rate for everyone who's actually used the program. Even there's not a new lease, and it's just a matter of getting time and having an orderly structure as to when the tenant's going to leave the property, it avoids a final judgment of eviction on a record. And it allows for that, like I said, an orderly and non-destructive way for the property to be transferred. We're looking to expand that. And that's one thing I'm going to work on in my next term, is expanding this portal idea and using this for consumer debt, so people can work on that before that. I've given training on insurance law to my fellow judges. I took the highest division caseload of 9,500 and I dropped it by 35%, even though the whole division is up 25%. Within a year, I was named an associate administrative judge for county civil, which means that my fellow judges and my chief judges believe in me and believe in my leadership and what I've done. In fact, I'm going to have to work on that jurisdiction increase and managing the judges that Judge Kolikoff mentioned. I'm a thinker, which is why when I first became an associate administrative judge, I changed the way we did small claims cases. It's the same way we've done it for 50 years. And I said, this is insane. There's got to be a better way. And I've changed the procedure. And so now it takes a 50% decrease in the amount of time it takes to resolve cases. I've served on 2 Florida bar committees, legal needs of children, and currently on the Code and Rules of Evidence Committee. I've presided over 60 trials and I have no reversals. I'm a loving father to my 3 children who just finished kindergarten and public school, my wife of 8 years, and I love to mentor students and be active in bar associations. And when you don't find me in court, you find me helping with butterfly gardens at the elementary school down the street. JudgeJanowitz.com, number 103.
Thank you so much, Judge Janowitz. We are now going to hear from his opponent, Attorney Alicia Garcia Priovalos.
Good evening, and I guess I'm last, so I hope everyone is still awake, but thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for doing this. My name is Alicia Garcia Priovalos, and I am 102 on the ballot. So this August makes 17 years that I have been serving the community and Miami-Dade County as an assistant state attorney. For the last 17 years, I have handled thousands of cases. I have been in court on a daily basis. I have supervised attorneys, I have trained them, and I have taught them how to try cases. The kinds of cases that I handled were the most serious that our community sees. Many of them were featured on the news because they involved murder, human trafficking, kidnapping, racketeering, and organized crime. The kinds of jury trials that I conducted were very serious and lasted for long periods of time. The quality of the trials that I conducted never resulted in any reversals. So in 2018, Catherine Fernandez Rundle appointed me as a result of my advocacy for victims of crime to be the director of the Human Trafficking Unit. Since 2018, I have been the director of the Human Trafficking Unit and have been fighting to protect our children and look for missing and exploited children and go after their traffickers. I have worked endlessly in our community throughout those years. My record for working in our community has been extensive and has actually been featured in the Miami Herald article where they endorsed me over my opponent as a result of all the work that I have done in this community for the last 17 years. I've worked with local, state, and federal agencies to follow traffickers wherever they go and hold them accountable for what they're doing. I've also spent countless hours going to crime scenes and then in the morning going to court and addressing the cases that were before me. During COVID lockdowns, while people were on Zoom, I was on the streets and working with the task force, recovering missing and exploited children, and then still taking care of cases. As a result of my work in 2020, Attorney General Ashley Moody awarded me Prosecutor of the Year. That's an award that was given throughout the state of Florida. And then in 2020 and 2021, the League of Prosecutors also awarded me Prosecutor of the Year. My work as prosecutor, though, is not the only thing that defines me. Because what happens is when you're working with victims of human trafficking, what you realize is they're oftentimes treated as defendants and mistakenly treated in the wrong fashion. So I understand both sides. And I also understand both sides because as a prosecutor, you must always seek to uphold the rights of the defendant and make sure that they're never violated. I've handled cases and I've tried cases against pro se defendants and have never been reversed or found to have committed an error in those types of cases either. But there's much more to me, much more than being a prosecutor. I'm a mother of 2, and I was born and raised in Miami-Dade County. My parents were immigrants from Spain, and when I was 17 years old, they had to go back to Spain due to financial difficulties, and I stayed in this country by myself. At the age of 17, still in high school, I had to find somewhere to sleep, somewhere to eat. I put myself through high school. I finished with honors, graduated being at the top of my class, and then I went on to Miami-Dade Community College and FIU. When I went to FIU, I graduated magna cum laude, And then I went to FIU College of Law. I was the first graduating class of FIU Law. So now my kids get to make fun of me and they tell me, how old you are, Mom, because you were the founding mother of FIU Law. And since then, I've continued to give back to the community that gave me so much. I wouldn't be where I am today were it not for all the community that helped me and to be where I'm at. And so I am grateful for that. And so as a result of that, throughout my 17 years, I've done volunteer work and I've done extensive work with the community, working with organizations to create additional resources and services for victims of human trafficking. I've had a number of special accomplishments, which include helping secure a $1.875 million grant to help victims of human trafficking and to help continue to advocate that the LGBTQ community be looked at as well for human trafficking because they are often targeted as victims as well. I've also worked and spearheaded a sex trafficking awareness campaign during the Super Bowl, and I worked with the Miami Super Bowl host committee. As a result of my work there and working with local and federal law enforcement, we recovered 20 victims of human trafficking. And I've also been, I know that a lot of people have been discussing the endorsements. I have received a lot of endorsements.
Ms. Priobos, I'm sorry, it's actually time, but you can certainly address endorsements in the Q&A.
Sure.
So everyone, we are now going to have the Q&A. This is the final group. This is County Court Group 42.
And I have a question from, I don't know who it's from, but it's for Judge Janowitz. You're a member of the Federalist Society, according to your website. Meanwhile, Mrs. Garcia, you took the support of the Christian Family Coalition. The question is, what should a progressive Democrat make of each of those?
Sure. Who wants to go first? You want to go first?
I'm fine to go first. I think that the endorsements, as judges, we represent the whole community. I sought all the endorsements that everybody offered, and I can't tell you why a particular place or organization endorsed. What I can tell you is that the ones that have endorsed me include the Miami Herald, the League of Prosecutors, many of the unions, the AFL-CIO, the SEIU, as well as the ASME, which is ASCME. And so I've had a number of endorsements. I would hope that all the people that I went before would think that I'm qualified, and that's why I was endorsed by each organization.
Right. Well, if you look, and it wasn't in there, I started really with Federal Society in 2012, which was when I started applying to become a judge. And quite frankly, I wanted to be a judge because of my service and everything else. And if you want to get a judge into the governor's office, you have to play a little of the politics. So I joined the Federalist Society. If you look, that a lot of judges tend to get selected from there. And so that's why I've been. But if you want to know why, who everyone should make of that, well, take a look again at the endorsements. Save Dade, United Teachers of Dade, AFL-CIO, PBA, SEIU, other organizations and individuals. Talk to the people, attorneys, and individuals who've been in front of me, and they'll tell you that I run a courtroom according to the law with respect and dignity. The fact of the matter is you can accept endorsements or not accept endorsements. So my opponent can say that she's not sure why, but she can disclaim it, but she's not going to. So you can check out her website. I'm sure she'll plug it. Check out, see if there's any public statements. I think she's proud of it, and I think she stands by it. So I'm represented by Save Dade because I believe for everyone, and the work I've done for court help is emblematic of exactly how I work for all the people.
I don't have any more questions. At least I don't see any in the chat.
There is a question in the chat from
Philip.
From Philip. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I think it's
Philip
Mr. Bouteau.
From Philip Bouteau. Do you think the Christian Family Coalition and the Federal Society endorsements are like any other endorsement?
I'm not aware of a Federalist Society endorsement. I'm definitely not endorsed by the Federalist Society. I don't think they actually endorse, and I don't even know if they would endorse me. I'm not sure what that means, but I do believe all endorsements matter, and who are they from, and whether you want to accept them or not. And so I'm proud of all the people who have endorsed me. including mayors and other government officials and the other organizations. And you can take a look at my credentials on judgejanowitz.com to see why people do want me to continue being your county court judge and an associate administrative judge of county civil.
And Ms. Provolos?
Yes. So like I said before, I applied for all the endorsements and I would hope that they would all find me qualified and would have endorsed me. I believe I represent all the people. I don't represent one demographic or one political or one viewpoint. Unlike what my opponent just said, I don't play party politics like he just said he did in order to get the Federalist Society or be part of it. I'm not engaging in that. In fact, I know very little bit about politics. This is my first time running. What I do know is that I have worked my entire life. I have been in a courtroom for the last 17 years. I have been fighting for victims of human trafficking and for victims' rights. And I have done everything I can to help and to continue to give to this community that gave me so much. I gave to this community regardless of any kind of political affiliation, any kind of race, color, or creed. I've always gone out there, and in fact, most of the victims that I work with are underprivileged and come from various backgrounds. So I don't have a political stance one way or the other. I believe that the organizations that are endorsing me and or that found me to be highly qualified are based on my credentials and based on the work that I've done, like is discussed in the Miami Herald article in which they endorsed me and they talked about my work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Garcia Priovalos. I know how to pronounce her name, which is why I keep saying it repeatedly. It's very exciting for me. I just want to thank everybody. This concludes our judicial forum for tonight. I know we ran a little bit over. I'm so thankful to all 12 of the 14 judicial candidates who took time out of both being lawyers or judges and then doing a second job in running for office. I want to thank everyone who signed up for the event. I want to thank all of the co-hosts, everyone at our Progressive Caucus who worked behind the scenes to make this happen. You can, I believe, see it on YouTube. And once again, you can vote now, vote by mail. You can early vote August 8th through 21st, and Election Day is August 23rd. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about how to get a vote by mail ballot, how to find your sample ballot, where can you early vote. We'll answer those questions. If you want to donate to any of these candidates, if you want to volunteer for their campaigns, you can check out their website. This is certainly not a fundraiser for them, but I do want to let you know that you certainly have the opportunity to reach out to any of the judicial candidates with your questions or with your support. So once again, this concludes our forum. Thank you all for coming. We don't have to remind anyone on here to vote. If you attended a judicial forum on a Wednesday night, it is 100% guaranteed you are voting. And so thank you and good night.
Good night, everybody. God bless.
Night. God bless everyone.